You already heard it, but I did liberally take this from WP Beginner, these 13 tasks. It was from last July. And here's the list that they had of all of their tasks that we ought to be doing regularly. And we'll go through all these one by one. And I have added and taken away from a few of these. But first one is always seems to be changing your passwords. It's the best practice to do that for your hosting account, logging into the back end. If you have FTP or SSH, your WP database, and especially if you take over a website from someone else, you want to be sure to change passwords so there's nothing unsecured out there. And probably if you are maintaining websites or have a website, you're already using a password manager. Here are three that they mentioned. Well, they didn't mention Bitwarden, but I use that, so I put that down. I think it's really great. I was able to import all of my things from a previous password manager, and it works great. So it's best practice to do that. Get a password manager and then change them. And then, of course, you want to have a complete backup of your website. There's plenty of great plugins. I've used Duplicator, and right now I'm using Updraft Plus, and there's Blog Vault and others. And I like Updraft Plus for maybe smaller websites. I've had problems with large websites trying to restore them because it makes so many files. It puts them in little bit pieces, and it was just taking forever. But something I really like is purchasing a backup service from my host for restoring websites. And that seems to save a lot of time and effort. So if something happens, if I'm updating a website and something goes bad with the page or the whole site, I can just go back to the host and pick a day that I know is the website was working well and restore it. But when you are using a backup service, you want to store them off-site, because if your website goes down, how are you going to get to your backup? I've used Amazon S3, Google, OneDrive, and Dropbox. Those are just some of the places you can send your backups. And they also suggest to do a manual backup from time to time. When you're back in the back end, just click backup now and just make sure you don't get any errors and make sure things are working right. And then it's also a good idea just to practice doing a restore of your website just to make sure your backups are working, because I know I've had problems in the past. So those are some, I think, really good ideas. And number three, checking and updating your files. This includes your plugins, your themes, things like that. Also, there's a little snapshot there of one of my websites, and you can see over on the right, I have enabled some of the updates for some of the plugins, and some plugins, they just seem to update very well. I don't have any problems with them, but some of them I do have problems with, and I don't enable the updates for that. But that is a nice feature to have, and so you might want to use that with your websites. And also, if you maintain a lot of websites, you might want to pay for a service that aggregates them all. I'm using Solid WP right now, and that works really well. I get an email every morning that tells me what's out there that needs to be updated, words and themes or plugins. And then also some updates that shouldn't be updated immediately. And I've got a couple. I've had problems with Astra Pro along with Spectra. And there's a couple sites I just will not update them right away, because it'll make a couple of my pages really wonky. So I wait about a month and then I'll do my updating. So that you might make a mental note or have a note in your Excel spreadsheet or however you keep track of your clients' websites. And checking and deleting spam comments. I'd never thought of that as a maintenance task, but you can see on my snapshot here, I've got nearly 10,000 spam comments in my website because I've never thought to go and delete them or check them to see if there's real ones there. But that's a really good thing that I should probably do. So they say do it. It doesn't really improve your website performance, but if you do it regularly, then you'll find real comments that might be there. You can batch delete comments, all the spam comments too, which I should probably do. And moving on to number 5, testing your forms. I've also had forgotten to do that. When you build your website, you're going to have a form, most likely, if it's just a contact or whatever else you may have on your site. Sign up for my newsletter. Well, is that form working? Are your people getting a response when they sign up for something? It's really embarrassing when that doesn't work. So it's important to go in and check your contact forms, make sure your notifications are going out, your other emails are going out. And then also at the beginning, I think it was of last year, it seemed like it was a lot harder to send out emails. Yahoo, Google, Microsoft, they're saying you need to put these text snippets in your email backend. I've never done it, but make sure that your emails are not spam and won't go into spam. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing to see if your emails are going out. And they do mention this WP or SMTP plugin. I've not used that, but you could research that and see if that might help you out. And then going on, the database. Your database is where the guts of your website is. It's got your content, your comments, users, your passwords, all your settings, and you can access that from your host. But most people, if you're just a casual user, you may not want to do that, because if you make any changes or anything like that, it could really mess up your site. So they do say if you are going to make any changes or cleanups, download a copy of your database before you do anything like that. And if you want to know what's in your database, there's a link here from a solid WP article that explains the structure and components. And it's really interesting to dig into that. Going on to number 7, have you ever had run any speed or performance tests on your site? It's really important to see, is your site loading correctly? Are people having to wait? People don't wait more than, what is it, 1.7 seconds or something like that for your site to load. So there's all of those on the left there, speed tests that they are promoting. Now, I've always heard that the Google and the Pingdom really don't work that well. And I've mainly used the GTmetrix and the web page test, and they give you very detailed information on what is slow and then how to fix it too. And I heard that GTmetrix just had been acquired by WP Rocket. So maybe that's a good thing. And they'll be updating that more regularly. And there are free and paid accounts with that. And I'm not sure if, I know web page test is also free. They may have paid accounts as well. I'm not sure. All right, then 404 errors. Who likes that? They can occur lots of reasons. The user could be mistyping something, but you could have had, like, if your site's very old, links that you have in your past articles could be expired. Maybe they took that site down, or an image is gone or something like that. And that's very frustrating. So if your user gets to a 404 page, a lot of themes right now, they will have a 404 page example. So you can go and put your theme on it, put something funny on it, have a link to other places on your website so people don't get frustrated and leave. And you can also track these with Google tools that we'll get into a little later. They also have a guide here on how to track error pages. And finding and fixing broken links. That kind of goes on along with the 404. Of course, you can only find and fix broken links on your own site. And who's going to go back to a blog article you wrote 10 years ago and see if your links all work? But you do want to see on your main pages, are the links, if you're linking to something external, check them every once in a while. Make sure they're still working. It's not limited just to external links either. You could have images on your own site that are broken. There are some helps for that. Find and fix broken links in WordPress. And also you can find them in Google search, SEM, and plugins. So take advantage of that. And it's also a good idea to analyze your content. So maybe your website's working okay, but what about what's in it? Are people visiting your website? What pages do they like the best? So you want to probably if you have a website out there that is a for-profit one, you probably have it already linked to Google Search Central and Google Analytics. and they keep changing the names. I think these are the latest names. There is some setup involved in that. Remember last year, Google went to the new way of analyzing, I forgot what they call it already, but you need to make sure if you're seeing a bunch of zeros or flat lines on your old analytics, you probably need to change to, I think it's G4 or something like that, to get updated and get your site working, your analytics working again. So the search performance can help you find keywords where your site appears and the results. And so you can analyze site impressions, clicks, and position. And I think a lot of people probably utilize Google for that. And then your images, are they optimized? A lot of us, in the last couple of years, the AVIF is now the de facto image being used, or the best one to be used when you're uploading images for WordPress. So you can take advantage of that. Of course, there are plugins that will help you. Smush is it's not a plugin, it's just a website you can go to that you can optimize your image before uploading to WordPress. And then they mentioned these other plugins that you can use, key points, there's automatic scanning, optimization options. You can bulk optimize. And I've got down there, Pixelian is a service that optimizes in bulk, which is nice. You can check that out. And just something about plugins in general. If you're using like a plugin for this, you're going to go through your whole site, you're going to optimize way back, then maybe you want to get rid of that plugin. Why keep it on your site? I try to not have more plugins around than I need. So when you're in the back end of different sites, if you're seeing a plugin that you don't use very much, just get rid of it and it'll perform better for you. And then security logs. That's kind of dull reading, but a lot of them are located at your host. You can look at them there. We've already talked about security precautions like the backups and the passwords. You could have someone audit your website for security. And WP Beginner recommends these two plugins, Securi or Malcare. I've never heard of Malcare, but I've heard of Securi. And they say both are reliable. I've heard they're a big drag on the quickness of your site, but some people really feel like they need to have that. And of course, if you do, then you can have all kinds of reports there. I use a login lockdown plugin and it does have logs. It's a lightweight one, and it just tells me for different sites how many have tried to log in, how many if they try so long, then they get locked out, how many lockouts I've had. So login lockdown, you could investigate that plugin to use to kind of help you with security. And then the last one they've got here is troubleshooting your maintenance tasks. So you're doing all these tasks and something happens to your site. I don't think I've had a blue screen or a white screen, at least not for a long time. But I have, like I mentioned earlier, I updated sites with themes and plugins. And then I had like a page of icons that went to different pieces of text, and the icons were all blown up out of they just were blown up and they were not small like they were supposed to be anymore. So once you've done that, once you've updated a plugin, you can't use the WordPress revisions to go back, the restore, but you can go to your host or use your backup and go back in time and restore your site, or try to fix it without restoring your site, which I would just rather take the time to restore it, because for me, it just works better that way. Another idea, and I should do this, but I don't, is my hosting plans do include staging areas, and I could do my updates there. And if everything goes right, then there's a button pushed to live, and then your site will be there, voila. But I usually don't do that, because you always have to update your site, your staging site, before you start working on it. But that's always there. A lot of people do that, especially for a site that's being used. Maybe people are buying things a lot. You might want to use something like that. And of course, there's also maintenance mode. And if something goes wrong, at least people won't see it. So those are just some tips there on troubleshooting. And here's the conclusion they have. They're highlighting the regular updates, the backups, the optimization, security, analyzation. So those are the things that they are focusing on. And then also for fun, I had ChatGPT, or I guess it was Copilot, make this image for me. I said, make me an image of someone sitting at a computer working on a WordPress website. And the first one I had, they had 3 cups of pencils. And I thought that was too much. I said, okay, that's pretty good, but why don't you make one with just one cup of pencils? Well, they did, but you can see the pencils right in front of the mouse. So if somebody's going to put their hand there, that pencil's going to be in the way. And then there's a pencil over on the left. And then I don't know why those little blocks are there. I don't know, but you got your obligatory cup of coffee. And then above that, I don't know what that is. I can't tell, but, and then the W, you can see they got a little curly Q there. So maybe we'll be changing our WordPress icon, but I doubt it. But anyway, I did that just for fun. So I see there's some things in the chat. That's all I've got. So I will see what comments we might have. Okay, just comments. Okay, great. Does anybody have any maintenance tasks that they do that wasn't included in this list you want to talk about? Okay, well, that's what I've got, and
Question, if that was enough.
oh, yes, the question too.
What causes, when you update stuff, there to be a conflict and it makes your website break?
Boy.
You might repeat it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Michaela asked, why does it happen if you're updating your website, maybe a theme or plugin, and why does it ruin your website? That, I don't know. I've never decided to question that. Now that I know it does it, I don't take time to go to the plugin or theme creator and ask, but Sarah or Tim probably have they probably know. They're just not making their software. Maybe they haven't tested it extensively enough.
So a lot of the time it just is dependent on the developer and what their software is doing. They can write code that conflicts with something one of the other developers in another plugin wrote. So that's one of the big reasons you need to make sure that you vet your plugins carefully and don't just grab anything off the internet. Make sure they're a reputable plugin from a reputable company, which will make it less likely for that to happen. But it still happens sometimes. So you also have to check the sites just to make sure.
Yeah, it still happens with my pro plugins, the ones I pay for. It still happens.
Sometimes it's stuff as simple as they use the same variable in 2 different plugins and had no way to know that the other person was using. I ran into that last time that I figured out that's what it was. It was actually a plugin somebody else wrote and one of mine. And so I was like, oh, I could just rewrite mine easily. And so you don't have that issue. And another thing they do is some of them, you can't test for all hosting environments. And so sometimes you'll just have a weird quirk of your hosting environment that causes it to break, not necessarily as a conflict, but it conflicts with how the hosting environment is set up, basically. And so that I've seen that happen a lot over the years as well.
Right. Yeah, I know this one host that I've got a client on, and they can't really afford to move. They're still on PHP, on a version not supported by WordPress. I mean, nobody supports it. And when I went to ask them about it, they said, oh, we're going to do it someday. They won't give you it.
I have moved 4 sites off 4 separate hosting accounts that were on PHP 7.4. Bring them up to 8.1 or 8.2.
Yeah, I think that's what they're on. I think that's what all these hosts are stuck on. And I don't know. Yeah, this one was called Vario, which I had never heard of till I started maintaining that site. But yeah, so I'll have problems every once in a while with that site.
We migrated last week and the upgrade broke the site. So then we had to go through and figure out what specifically broke.
Yeah, so even if you move a client, that can happen. Yeah, because I think their hosting is coming up in July, so I want to move them somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's a big site too. That's good to know.
It's good to say.
Yeah, good to look forward to. That's good to know really though, because yeah, it doesn't necessarily fix it right off the bat. Okay, anybody else have a question or comment?
Questions, no real. So when you update your website and you're saying, oh, this broke, what do I need to do and understand? Like, what am I looking for to make it broke or didn't break? When you go to the front end of your site and it doesn't look like good.
You have to look at every page because I always look at the first page, but that's not what's breaking. It's breaking,
Some deep page.
yeah.
Yeah, I always look at everything in the main menu, and then if there are drop downs in the drop down, and then add a couple of random blogs. I'll typically, when I'm doing a thorough job, I'll look at the first page of all the blogs, so like the most recent 10 typically is what that is, and then maybe a couple other. Well,
That is very thorough. Yeah, that's more than what I'll do
what I
the
told,
website. Yeah.
Jack on my team to do, but I'm gonna.
But like, it literally just looks screwed up and that's how you know. There's nothing else that would indicate that.
Yeah, well, sometimes it's literally, yes, it looks screwed up. Sometimes that means it's literally a white screen. Sometimes it means that just the layout got janky. And so if you don't slow down and look carefully, I'm not saying that you would ever do that. But if you don't slow down and look carefully, you can be like, yep, this looks right. It's all their branding colors. It's laid out okay. And then you start looking. Sometimes it'll show short codes when it's broken. Like you see short codes on the screen when something's broken.
Sometimes it'll be a process, so like the form doesn't fit or checkout doesn't work or anything like that. It doesn't, it always,
Functional,
sometimes
that's
it
true.
looks fine, but then someone goes to check out or do something and you realize that it's.
Sometimes I'll see a little white message at the top of the screen.
Or your admin email gets a notice saying this broke, it caused,
Yeah.
it caused some conflict, but it still looks fine on the front end. So there's lots of ways. Well, my church is brokey and they're relying on Michaela to do these website updates. How's that working? Not good. Anyways, unrelated. Lots of questions. Sorry.
All right, any more questions, Michaela?
You talked about your database, and when I Googled it, I thought I knew what it was, but talk a little bit more about what it is, just so I know. What it is.
Well, when you go to it, I'm trying to think, what is it, PHP something? Okay,
Access to my SQL database using PHP my admin.
right, okay, that's it, yeah. And you open that up and there's a big table. I did have a little snippet in there of what it looked like. And then there's a bunch of tabs at the top. And I think there's like 10 areas, 8 to 10 areas. And I haven't looked at it now for a long time, but you can click on each one and it'll show you what's in there. But what I just found really interesting is like my whole blog article is in the database. Any comments, even the spam, it's all in the database. And I just didn't realize that WordPress was the database was a repository for all of that until, a few years back.
The database is what allows anyone to work on the site and not have to do HTML. It stores all the content, not HTML code files into the database. But they are editable from there? Yeah, you can edit if you know what you're doing. If
You
you're
don't know what you're
writing-
doing.
Yeah.
But essentially, it's like a data storage that you don't have to use, like a, code.
Like once or twice a year, no, maybe once a year, I have to get directly in the database. Mostly I have Sarah
Not
never
me.
do that, or what's his name? Who's the other dude on the team? Walter, yeah. Do it, but I also know, like I help someone at church who isn't paying us anymore. But get into the database and reset a password so they could get back into the website because they changed the password.
Yeah, I was going to mention passwords. That's kind of cool. You can get in there and change your password.
Make sure you.
You're gonna have a talk with Michaela afterwards.
And there's online encryptors, was it in
MD5.
MD5, okay. There's
Michaela.
online encryptors. I always get a copy one from another site I have where I know the password and then paste it in, but you can actually use an online encryptor. And then
Oh,
say, I
really?
want my password to be password, and it'll encrypt it the right way, and then you put it in the database. You can't just say,
Oh,
you know,
really?
my
Okay.
password's ABCDEFG, that's not gonna work, because it encrypts it before it stores it in the database.
You can put it in there and then change the drop down in there to say encrypted at MD5 and then save it. So you can do it all with.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In PHP management? I didn't realize that.
You don't have to go use a separate service.
Hmm.
Those are my questions. Thank you. Lynn.
So you're saying if you log in, I have a question. So when you log into the database and you're looking at a password, you don't actually see it. It's
No, it's
encrypted.
encrypted, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
you can't copy it and go log into WP.
Okay. So if you
And
want,
you can't reverse, you can't decrypt them, because all it does when you type it in on the login screen,
Uh-huh.
it just encrypts what you typed in and then checks it against the database.
really? Okay. So you really, so can you change it
You
from
have to
within the
change it in
database?
Have to put in what you want it to be. And then there's a drop down to the left of it that talks about encryption, and you open it and it gives you like 10 different encryption options, and you have to select MD5 because that's
Oh.
what WordPress uses, and then you save it.
Okay. Well, I didn't know that. I'll probably forget it, but it's good to know. Because I hopefully I don't have to change my passwords like that. But well, that's good. Okay, anything else from anybody?
Anyone online have a question?
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I didn't. Hey, I've been looking at this on my phone because I'm having issues with my computer and everything's very small, unfortunately. Is there any chance that there will be I know it says the meeting's being recorded, but will there be a copy of the slide deck available at some point?
I can post that to our WordPress Facebook page because I'm an admin there. So I'll post it there later today and you can just,
Okay. And
it's-
what is the actual address of your, because I just got here through Meetup. It's my first time. What's the name or the address for your Facebook page?
I'll post it.
oh, she's gonna look it up.
Put it in chat.
It's,
Okay.
so it could be OKC, it could be Oklahoma City. We don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you. I know that can be. I know.
So hang on a minute and she'll post it.
That was years ago.
Yeah. People tend to call me so many different things. I forget what my real name was, it's kind of,
Okay, it's in the chat.
okay, let's do it there. Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so look for that and I will post it later today because all the links and referrals will take you to deeper research. Or you could just
Awesome.
you could just also type in 13 essential WordPress maintenance tasks,
Right.
beginner, and that would take you to it.
Cool beans.
So either way.
All right. I thank you much.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay, so we about ready to close it down. Anybody else have a question online? All right, well, thanks for coming. Really appreciate it. And do we know about next month?
Thanks everyone for showing up. We do not know what the topic is next month, but if you will follow us on Meetup or Facebook, we will post it as soon as we know, and hopefully we'll see you then.
We know it will be the 26th.
Cool.
It'll be the 26th. That's all we know. But thanks everyone for coming.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.